Welcome to Postpartum Unfiltered.
The podcast where we get real about what happens during the postpartum period.
I am Jillian,
And I'm Sarah.
and we are two doctor moms who are not prepared for what postpartum would bring.
By sharing your stories, we hope to spread awareness and allow other families to be more prepared for the time after birth.
Sarah, here we are.
Jill.
We came back. We made it. It's only Wednesday, but it feels like the end of the week. I mean, this is going to come out on a Monday, but today is a Wednesday. And I'm ready for
Friday.
I'm ready for it to be Friday. I feel like it tricks me almost every week. Like
Wednesday comes, right?
And then I have a patient that comes in and I'm like, you're not usually here on a Friday. And they're like, it's Wednesday. And I'm like, great, good talk. I'm doing excellent.
2 more days.
Yeah.
This week has been like crazy. It's been like just patients super upset this week. So I'm really ready for this week to be done.
Yeah. It would be nice. It would be
Are
nice.
you both still doing patient care?
Yeah, girl.
God
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bless.
And then we come home and then our kids are also screaming at us.
Yeah. So
Like, I
good
get screamed
segue
at
because
work.
our guest today is a nurse.
Oh, nice.
So she's probably had a lot more challenging experiences than perhaps we have. She's a 34-year-old mother of 4 with her 5th child on the way. Very impressive. I think our most seasoned mama that we've had so far. She once gave birth at 41 weeks, and even more remarkably, once gave birth at 27 weeks. Today, we have another one of my sorority sisters, Alycia. Hi, I'm so happy that you're here.
Welcome, Alycia.
Hi.
So that's pretty cool. Like you're pregnant and this is your 5th child. So obviously you've had multiple postpartums. Is there some common thing that you feel like you've had to work on each time postpartum?
So, I was actually talking to my mom about it today because the postpartums were so different. But one thing I will say was consistent with all of them is they were, I wouldn't say they weren't very hormonal. It was more of dealing with situations around, if that makes sense. So my postpartums were never focused on me. They were focused on situations. I don't know if that makes sense.
Situations with the children?
With the children or medical emergencies or significant others. So they were never focused on me being postpartum.
Wow.
Which postpartum would you say was the hardest for you?
Number 4, the
That-
NICU baby.
That was the 27 weeks.
Yep. The NICU
How long
baby.
was he in the NICU?
62 days to
Goodness.
be exact.
How long were you in the hospital?
24. So I was my water broke at 22 weeks. They
Goodness.
hospitalized me at 24 weeks when baby's viable. And so I was in the hospital for 3 weeks before. And then after he was born, I think I was in the hospital for 24 hours.
Okay.
If that, like it was really quick because unfortunately I had other kids at home. So I was like, I have to go.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to go home right now. Like I have 3 other kids at the house.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
So what, do they know what happened, why you went in? Did you go into spontaneous labor or just your water broke and that was kind of it? And then they were just monitoring you?
They called it, I'm going to mess it up. They called it PPROM. So like premature rupture of the membranes. So they just the water just broke one night while I was sleeping. And ironically, I called the OBGYN. I was like, hey, like my water broke. And the OBGYN was like, you're only 22 weeks. There's no way your water broke. And I was like, I'm not.
They were like, you just peed yourself.
Right. I'm not trying to play an idiot, but this is my 4th baby. So I know the difference between like urine and amniotic fluid, but whatever. So I went to the labor and delivery. They checked. They were like, nope, there's fluid in there. You're fine. So I was like, I'm telling you my water broke, but that's fine. So then for like 3 or 4 weeks, I just kept leaking and leaking and leaking. And then I went to just a random like elective ultrasound. And I went for an ultrasound and she put the probe right on my stomach. It was like, there is no water in here. You need to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital and they like ambulanced me to a higher level NICU because I was only 24 weeks. And so they needed the highest NICU around. But fortunately, I stayed on hospital bed rest for like, it was about 3.5 weeks. So a while. I mean, a long time.
Yeah.
So for 3.5 weeks, who was watching your kids?
My parents, thank God. Because my oldest is 14 and then the youngest is 1. So life still goes on. Like they still have to go to school.
Right.
Yeah.
My parents took them, thank God.
Yeah.
I don't know what we would have done.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do without my parents either.
And so what was it like in that that fourth time postpartum, like you said, you've got these three other kids at home, and your kids are kind of in different stages, right? So, you had a 13-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old at the time that the fourth one was born. And so that's not only is like they're in two kind of different stages in life, but you've still got like these three other kids. You just gave birth, and then you don't get to come home with your baby. What was that like when you first went home after the hospital?
So, baby number 3 had stage 3 cancer. So my older kids understood that sometimes one child needs more attention than other children because of that experience. So unfortunately with baby number 4, with Anthony, I keep calling him baby number 4, with Anthony, Anthony had a traumatic birth, and the doctor did not catch Anthony when he was delivered, and he fell off the table.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What?
I would have freaked out. Oh my God.
I saw this before I delivered. I saw some video of the nurse dropping the baby. Oh my God.
Yes.
Was your husband there?
He was, and my mom.
Did they freak out?
Because the baby literally just like shot out.
Yeah. How big was he?
2 pounds 5 ounces.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Little guy. Yeah. Little just. And you've done it before, so your body knew what to do.
I didn't even push. I was like, I don't know what. He flew off head first into the bag, and then the doctor grabs the umbilical cord from between my legs and had to find the baby because we couldn't find the baby. So
what?
I've never heard of an umbilical cord as a fishing line.
Alycia, I'm not okay.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Actually. Are you okay? Because I am not okay.
I know, like now
she's saying like the same tone. Like you gotta listen to catch it.
She's like, let's just move this story along.
Yeah, they use the umbilical cord to find the baby like a fishing line with a hook at the end.
He used it. He bungee jumped. He literally it was a bungee cord.
Oh my God.
That's true. It's probably better.
The umbilical cord just like bing bing.
Oh,
thank God it was so long.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He finds the umbilical cord and he found the baby, suctioned the baby was fine. But then a week later, we found out as a result of this, he had a grade 3 brain bleed.
Oh,
so we had to focus all of our energy on Anthony. So fortunately, the kids knew.
Anthony, and then you have your other baby who's dealing with stage 3 cancer. Oh my gosh, how are you? Okay, are you okay?
Yeah. Did you cry? Like, yeah,
every day.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge emotional burden.
It was
too.
Well, Anthony, Jeremiah, number 3, he had been cancer free. I think we had hit a year mark, and after a year, we were like, you know what, we're going to have another baby, and it's going to be a happy occasion, and it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, I remember the very enthusiastic looking birth announcement on your social media when you were pregnant with Anthony.
He's like rolling his eyes. He was so irritated that we were having a baby.
And Olivia's like,
yeah, like, whatever. And then the oldest is like, again.
Yeah, right. We get it.
Right. But we didn't know because his brain is swelling. There's fluid everywhere. So we were at the NICU like 12 to 14 hours a day. Like we were just always there.
Yeah.
So it's you don't have time to be postpartum. Like you're in like
making
emergency decision.
Yeah.
At all times.
That's true.
Yeah.
And for you, when he was in the NICU, were you able, did you breastfeed with any of your children, or is that something you wanted to do? And like with going into labor so prematurely and having him so early, were you able to produce, or was that even like any concern because there were other pressing matters?
It was very important.
A little bit more pressing.
So I breastfed all the babies.
Okay.
With Anthony, he was so little, so he couldn't nurse until I think he was at 38 weeks gestation. So I pumped like crazy, and I'm an overproducer. So I donated. I think we came up to like 1,500 ounces that I just like gave away because I had nowhere to put.
Because it kills. It kills. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sarah. You made like 5 ounces total.
I make 5 ounces a day. Every ounce counts. Counted.
I was making like so much milk. I was like, we bought a freezer just for milk. I was like, I don't even know what to do with this milk.
Amazing.
We lost power one time when I was pumping, and we had like several hundred ounces in the freezer. We took it to a friend's house and put it in their deep freezer.
Yeah.
I was like, I told my husband, like, I might kill myself if we lose this milk. Like, I had a really hard time with breastfeeding, and I did a lot of pumping, and I was like, you don't know what I went through to get this milk, and if we lose it, I don't know if I'll make it.
It's miserable. It's scary. So he nursed, while he was in the NICU, he nursed. And then as soon as he came home, he refused to nurse.
Oh, okay.
So I
All right.
pumped for it the whole time.
How long did you do that?
I went all the way to a year adjusted. So then he would have been
Alycia.
17 months.
Can we make you some sort of plaque or something? Because I exclusively pumped the first time for 4 months, and it was brutal.
It sucks.
It's brutal.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's uncomfortable. Like, you don't ever get fully emptied, I feel like, when you're pumping. The pump parts fit weird. Like, I got a blood blister on my nipple. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. And it burns. It burns. And then I got those fancy ones that like go in the bra, which are fantastic, but when you're an overproducer, they fill up, there's milk everywhere. Now you're soaking wet.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's just a mess.
Yeah.
But fortunately, he's humongous now, so it worked.
Yes. How long did you breastfeed all of the other ones?
Delv, in the first one, he breastfed for 17 months. Alycia breastfed for only 10 months. I think because I got pregnant with Jeremiah and the milk changed, so she didn't want to nurse. Okay. I guess. I don't know. But Jeremiah, God help us, nursed for 27 months. Goodness. I could not get him off.
Oh my God.
That's impressive.
He would not leave.
We should start sending awards.
Yeah.
He would probably still be nursing if my husband didn't make him stop.
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a lot of work. And then Anthony was he was, I think it was about 15 months I breastfed for.
Wow.
A long time.
Yeah, you've breastfed for like 6 years.
Literally.
Yeah. God, do you ever just like, when people, I had a friend in college who quit smoking, and she had this app that like tracked how long
I did
like each thing was. So it's like, I've saved a year because I quit smoking, and I was like,
the dollar amount you saved, and it was like so motivational.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you ever think, because I had a tracker app when I was doing it, and I remember looking at it one time, and I had pumped for 6 hours one day, and I was like, oh God.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long
time. By
the
end, I was like crying when I had to pump, because I was like, I'm tired of being hooked to this machine.
Right.
It's not like you can hold your baby while you're pumping. You're just
pumping. Yeah.
It was miserable. Miserable.
So did you have any like free, easy births and postpartums?
The first one. I think so. When I got pregnant with Delvin, I was in college, and I was only 19 years old. And I think because I was so young, I just bounced back really well. And it was like the best pregnancy, the best delivery. And it was just amazing. Like, I had no problems. I lost all the baby weight in like 2 weeks. And it was like,
God, to be young.
That's wild. So do you think, did that set you up for failure in any way for the second one?
I think so, because I think I had really high hopes, because the first one was so amazing.
Yeah.
Second and third, I mean, they were good. They weren't as good as the first one, but that fourth one, he was the smallest. He was only 2 pounds.
Yeah.
But that was by far the worst labor and delivery I have ever gone through.
Wow. Did you have them all vaginally?
Yes.
Did you have any tearing or anything?
No.
Oh.
I know.
Oh, Alycia.
I know.
She's winning all the awards. No tearing, breastfeeding champion.
Dang, girl, I was doing yoga for like months, and that did not help.
Yeah. Yeah.
0 tears,
no?
1,500 ounces.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They were just really good.
Yeah. And then in the early on, did you have any, like for the first couple, or I guess the first 3, did you have any emotional issues postpartum, like any depression, anxiety, stress, any of that stuff?
Yeah. So the third baby, I was in a very abusive marriage. Yes. And there was a lot of domestic violence, and So I think I delivered that baby at 35 weeks. And so they think that's part of the reason why I delivered at 35 weeks. And then even after I delivered, he was miserable. So I was only on maternity with him with that baby for like, I want to say a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. And I had to go right back to work. And I was just like, that pregnancy was like, the pregnancy just sucked. Like, not the pregnancy, but just like the
whole environment.
Right. Like the whole situation was just miserable.
So after 2 weeks, who was taking care of the baby?
My mom took care of the baby. So what happened was I had saved up. So I was new on the job, so I knew I wouldn't have a lot of PTO or maternity or whatever it was at the time. And so I had saved up to go on maternity leave. And while I was in labor and delivery, and while I was in the what is it, 2 days that you usually stay in the hospital after vaginal delivery.
Yeah.
He, unbeknownst to me, was an active addict, and in 2 days blew through my entire savings.
What?
Like the whole
What?
Yes.
Doing what?
I'm feeling stressed out.
Yeah. Like, so then I find out later that it was
How's he alive after doing that?
I was like, I don't even know. Like, it happened so fast. I was like, didn't even have time to respond. I was like, I have to go back to work. Like, I have to, like,
right.
I have this baby number 3. Like, I just have to go back to work. And around this time, I was working on a med-surg floor. I was a charge nurse. I had 6 patients. Like, I was walking 15.
How did you do that with all that's so stressful? And then you have to go to such a stressful job. Like,
like,
did you ever,
in hindsight, I'm like, wow, that like really sucked.
Did you ever look back and be like, I had like some, like postpartum depression, I wasn't feeling it at the time, or?
Well, and even at the time, the doctor, because I've had the same doctor every pregnancy. In hindsight, like when I look at the records, because I always go back and look at like other pregnancies, he had put me on Zoloft, and at the time I was like, I don't need Zoloft. Like, what do I need this for? Like, I'm just going to work. And in hindsight, I was like, wow, I was like really like dark during that time. Like, it just was miserable. Like, I didn't even get to enjoy postpartum. Not that all postpartums are enjoy, but like I just have a brand new baby. I didn't even get to stay home. So
like what was like the last straw for you to leave him?
So he, because when you're in a domestic violence situation, it's not as cut and dry as like you just leave.
Right.
And the one particular situation, and it was actually on the news, he put a tracker on my car and chased me around the city of Richmond and tried to kidnap Jeremiah, baby number 3, and wanted to do suicide by cop because he said that he wanted him and his son to die in each other's arms.
Oh my God.
That was it.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
So how did you how did you find about the tracker?
So when that happened, I was with my dad or my best friend, and I was driving around, and he kept calling me, and he was like, I know you're here, and I know you're there, and I know you're here. And I'm like, how the hell does he know this? Like, honestly, like, how does he know this? Like, he's supposed to be in Powhatan. I'm in Midlothian. Like, how does he know where I'm at? So I was actually that day had an appointment with the Domestic Violence Center because I was getting therapy there because I was actively trying to get out of the situation. So they have to like do this whole plan, and here's your money, and here's your. So I had an appointment with the therapist that day, and she called me, and she's like, "Where are you? Why are you not in therapy?" And I was explaining to her, and she's like, "I want you to drive to my office right now." I was like, "I can't even get from one side of town to the other because he's following me. Like, I can't just like leave." So I went to the police station, and I'm telling the police what's going on. And the police are like, well, we don't see him out in the parking lot, so you're just going to have to figure it out. And I was like,
excuse me?
Like, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Like, there's a tracker on my car, and you're telling me to figure it out. So I call her, and she's like, I don't give a shit what they say. Just come to my office, and we'll see you when you get here. So I was like, okay, I'll do the best I can, but it's 30 minutes apart. A lot can happen in 30 minutes. So I ended up getting there safely, and they put my car up in this like when you get like an oil change, they lift
the lift.
They lifted it, but then it's like this computer that scans your car for a tracker. Come to find out, there was no tracker on my car. The tracker was on my cell phone, and it was like some hidden app. Like it made it look like a Facebook app, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like tracking me for days. So And I had no clue, like none. And meanwhile, I have like this brand new baby. Like,
were you living with him still?
Yeah. So how old was Jeremiah when this happened?
he was, by the time this happened, I think he was a little bit older. I think this was like 9 months.
Jeez,
I think
Louise.
it was about 9 months, if I remember correctly. Because I remember he was like toddling, not like really walking, but like toddling.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was like 9 months. And so technically we were still living together, but I had already made him leave, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's why he was so angry, because I made him leave.
Mhm.
So it was just a terrible situation. Like,
Yeah.
in hindsight, I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe that happened.
Yeah.
You know, I ask because I'm sure there are listeners that are probably in the same situation, and you know, you're trying to figure a way out. Like you said, you don't just leave. You don't just get up and say,
Right.
"Okay, I'm done," because you have, you know. So it's good that you're able to talk about it because hopefully it can give those listeners some, you know, they don't feel alone about
Yeah.
it or figure out a way out of it.
Because it definitely took me, I think it took like 3 years to leave.
Yeah.
It's not a quick thing like people think.
Right.
People are always like, well, just leave.
Well, yeah, right. I'm trying to stay alive, but thanks. Thanks for the
It's
advice.
It's like be happy if you're depressed.
Yeah, right.
I know that I can't.
Could you try not doing that? Yeah, okay, thanks. So how long did it take? I mean, I'm assuming that when you guys got together, it was not just violence from the start. So like what was that transition like? And when, if ever, did you fear for your children in being in that environment?
Yeah. So then transition started when I was pregnant. And I think because, you're so tired, you don't want to be intimate, like you're so big. And that's when the infidelity started. And that's when the drugs started. And I'm just so pregnant. I'm like oblivious to what's even happening in my world.
Yeah.
And that's when it rapidly went downhill. Was probably about like 6 months pregnant. Like when you actually start getting big.
Yeah.
And it happened so quick. And then the physical violence didn't start until, which I didn't, and I'm telling you, like, and I worked on an addiction unit and I was like completely clueless to what was even happening. But the physical violence didn't start until money started disappearing. And that's because if you don't have money, you can't get your fix. You can't get your fix, then you're angry. And I was just like, I don't even know what's happening right now. Like I'm 6 months pregnant. I don't even know like what you're even like talking about. Like I'm just trying to like have a baby right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that must have been scary.
So then in that time, so that's kind of a crazy time for you because you've got two other children and and you're trying to get out of this environment that's unhealthy, but you've also got a newborn now. So, did you have it sounds like your parents have always been kind of close. Like, so were they supportive in that time or like were you kind of on your own until when or how was that like for you when that third child came?
So they were actually very supportive during that time. My dad, my dad's a prior combat vet. And he couldn't understand why I needed to be in protective custody with the baby and I couldn't be in the house with him. But my parents also have a very large house. Like there's so many, like when you're in a domestic violence situation, you have to like think outside the box. Because there's so many entrances into their house that I was like, Dad, when you're asleep, things can happen and things can happen with this baby. And it's nothing personal. But fortunately, they really stepped in. So even after this happened, I had to like sell the house because I wanted a new address. I had to sell my car because I needed a new car that wasn't identifiable anymore. So they fortunately were incredibly supportive for that period.
And so what did you feel like, for like the postpartum feelings, were you able to like really process them in that time or did it kind of more hit you later? I know you said like the doctor gave you the Zoloft and you kind of felt at the time like, what's this even for? And reflecting on it, that was probably super appropriate and helpful to you. But when did you like or did you ever really start to like say, okay, what does Alycia need right now?
When he got arrested.
Oh, it might feel like a relief.
Yeah, when he got arrested. But
Is that because you finally felt like, okay, now I can be safe?
Now I can be safe and I can think about what's even happening right now. Because during the time, it's just so fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he got arrested. which
Yikes.
he is still incarcerated for those charges.
Yeah, yikes. So was that your toughest postpartum, or is it like?
I think that one was the toughest emotionally.
Okay.
But then Anthony's, I don't know. Anthony's was pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony's was pretty rough because so I am a nurse. I've never done pediatric or neonatal care. I've always done adults. But I felt like with Anthony, I was always on. Like you're just in nurse mode 24/7. So even when we brought Anthony home from the NICU, you know, he's in the NICU for 62 days.
Mm-hmm.
When we brought him home, he stopped breathing on us at home twice. And I had to resuscitate him at home twice. But thank God I was able to. So I think his was definitely the scariest, for sure. He tested all of my knowledge, for sure.
So how have you been able to process through all these different situations that you've had, and does that play into like your preparation for this next postpartum since you're pregnant now?
I think for one, it helps to have the consistent OBGYN because he's kind of lived with me through it all. But there was definitely light at the end of the tunnel when I met my husband. So I met my husband right after my ex-husband got arrested. And my husband and I just make a really good team because now we've gone through childhood cancer together and we've gone through the NICU together in the first 3 years of marriage. Mm-hmm. So we fortunately just make a really good team and are very honest with like what we need and where boundaries are.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like I'm just having a really bad day and I'm like, look, I just need you to take the kids. Like, I don't want to talk to a kid today. Like,
yeah.
I love my children very much.
Of course.
Today, I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said you're doing therapy through the Domestic Violence Center, I think, at one point.
Yes.
Have you continued therapy somewhere else, or do you still see the same therapist?
No, I stopped when I met my husband.
Oh.
Yeah, I come to think of it. But you know, ironically, I still reach out to her. So I still communicate with her. So they told me when he gets out of prison that they wanted me to leave the country because it escalated really badly. And fortunately, we're not at that point. Like he still has several years. So every few months, I send her an email just to like check in and tell her how I'm doing. And she was like, "You just have no idea how inspirational your story is for other women that are going through this because it was dark. Like it was." Yeah. It was so bad that I knew that I had had enough when I increased my life insurance to an astronomical number. And I knew that the only way to get him away, this is going to sound crazy even saying it out loud, I knew the only way to get him away from my kids was I was going to have to take him out and I was going to have to commit suicide. So I remember talking to the insurance agent and being like, what's my suicide clause? Like, how long do I have to wait? And after that, fortunately, after I had that conversation, he was arrested the next day. So somebody was listening. And she was just like, you just have no idea how bad of a situation you were in and how like it was a complete 360. Like it just like totally changed. So that's why now I am like so looking forward to this postpartum because like I was like, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the normal one.
Yeah, you'll have a supportive partner there and like a whole team and your parents still there and some older kids that can kind of help out. They just, we should have brought them in.
And then my oldest will be almost 15 when I have this baby, and he is like so protective. For one, it's the best birth control ever. He talks about he's never having sex. And then he's like, I'm never doing it.
It's like, I can't risk it.
And he is so protective. He knows, I'm at the point now where like I can't even get out of the bed by myself. And he comes, he picks me up out of bed. He like helps me get in the car.
That's crazy because I saw him as a baby.
Yes.
It's like the last time I saw him, he was a little baby.
Yes.
Jill, 15 years.
Yeah. No, let's not talk about it, Sarah. All right.
Let's
not talk about
it.
I still also. I vividly remember when you told us that you were pregnant. We were at the retreat. We were sitting in the little circle. You were like 8 people away from me. And I was like, oh my God, Alycia, like so much is happening.
I remember that so vividly. I remember I was 19. I was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
I just went from living in a sorority house to pregnant.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We can figure this out.
All right. I guess we're doing it. But now in hindsight, Delvin and I have grown up together because we literally fight like siblings.
Oh my God.
It drives my husband nuts.
That's hysterical.
But he's a pretty cool dude.
So do you have anything like specific in place to prepare for this postpartum, or do you just feel good, like, you've got the supportive partner and you've gone through these like tough situations? So is it more like, well, I got the right partner and we've done it, so they can't be much more crazy?
Yep. We're kind of like at the point where it is what it is. We'll deal with what comes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a nice place to be when you have a supportive partner.
Yeah. Alycia, you're so chill. You have so much more chill than I do.
Yeah,
you ran out of fucks like a long time ago.
The therapist said, you're definitely an inspiration.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
We got to get you a podcast.
We appreciate you being so honest.
My morning affirmations, Alycia. It is what it is.
It is what it is. No, we appreciate you being so honest about so many sensitive topics, and it's definitely going to help other women hearing it.
Yeah. I think that's the first time I've said it out loud.
Yeah.
And not cried.
I'm so proud of you.
You did great.
It's tough. It's really tough to talk about stuff sometimes. And kind of like you said, for me, it's always been tough to hear it, like to say it, even if I thought it or written it down, like getting the words out is always like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm good. These are just tears. Don't worry about it.
I always have to turn my back whenever I'm saying something like really hurtful to myself. I'm like, just all of a sudden just think I'm going to disappear. So I like turn around and then this. And people are
is it working? Yeah, it's not working. No.
Yeah, they can still see me.
They still know.
Yeah.
They don't just go deaf because you don't make eye contact anymore.
Yeah. All right. Alycia, is there anything else that you feel is important to share as we wrap up?
I don't think so. That was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot.
That was awesome.
We kind of compacted it down, got through a lot. You're a natural, girl.
You're amazing.
All right. Well, thank you. And it's so good to see you again.
You too.
Thank you for listening to Postpartum Unfiltered.
If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, comment, or leave a review.
You can follow us on Instagram at postpartum.unfiltered.
If you feel called to share your postpartum experience, please contact us on Instagram or at drjilliancampbell.com.